I was told there'd be fossils. Thank you for those kind words, Dean Goza. I'd also like to acknowledge my thanks to Chancellor Watson, who is not here right now, the interim Provost Cook, and all of the others on the platform supporting me. I said at that Board of Regents meeting when I won the award that professors, if they want to get something done that is truly unique and life-changing for their students, you have to bring your vision to the administrators. And I believe that. In addition, I must acknowledge and thank my remarkable faculty colleagues, the College of Letters and Sciences and the others as well. They truly do not get enough recognition for all that they do, including the hundreds of hours of pre-commencement speeches that they gave you over these previous years. And I'm honored today to give you your last lecture at UW-Whitewater. Of course, we must also recognize and congratulate the parents, grandparents, family members, and other loved ones without whose support these graduates would not have made it to this preliminary finish line. But of course, today is the day for congratulating you, the students, on your remarkable accomplishment, graduation from the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. When Chancellor Watson asked me to be your commencement speaker, my first reaction was, me? I'm just the guy that's so nuts about rocks that he even has a car license plate that is a geologic time period, the only one that fits, Permian. I can't talk to them about the millions of dollars that they're going to make. I can only speak to the millions of years of geologic time. I, of course, was honored and said yes. And I thought, well, how hard can it be? I speak for a living, but preparing for this moment proved more difficult than I had planned. I talk in 50-minute chunks of time in professor lecture speak, as my wife always reminds me. Very few of us professors can be finished with any topic in the 10 to 15 minutes I have here. Reading up on how to write and give a commencement address, I found again and again that the speaker should tell stories. I think my students can agree I'm good at that. And impart 3 pieces of wisdom to the graduates. Well, as hard as it is for this professor to say, I'm going to cut it short and just hit you with 2. But these are the 2 that I've found myself giving one-on-one to my advisees and mentees over the years. The first, this might surprise you, is to learn to truly relax. Now, I don't mean relax as in blowing off things such as assignments and papers until the night before or even later. Some of you are already masters of that. No, what I mean is to not let your life be ruled by crises. Don't build up every small task or event into a big monster in your head. Calvin Coolidge, our underappreciated 30th president, said, "When you see troubles coming up the road toward you, sometimes the best thing to do is to do nothing, because 9 of them will fall into the ditch before they get to you." I'll tell you now that the best life hack to learn is which crisis, which trouble is the one that you need to focus your attention on, and which ones to let fall into the ditch. I know that right now most of you are staring at that trouble of getting a job. You've spent all these years, all that money training for your professions, and maybe you still don't have one. And then you see all those smiling faces online that we promote in our Hired Before Graduation campaign, and maybe you're not one of them. And your parents are reminding you that you are not one of them. Again, relax. Not to the point of quitting the search and sinking in despair or worse, indifference, but relax and realize that from this place, you've gotten the skills and the training necessary to succeed. and in a few minutes, the sheet of paper that proves it. It will come. And to the people here probably making this a bigger crisis than you graduates are, you parents, it will come. Relax. But to get there requires my second piece of imparted wisdom, and that is to learn to persevere. Some people are fortunate to have a built-in stick-to-itiveness, but even if you don't, I can tell you that if you master the art of relaxation, then you will have an easier time with perseverance. Our great American author Ernest Hemingway wrote, "The first and final thing you have to do in this world is to last and not be smashed by it." When I was in your shoes, okay, it's story time. When I was in your shoes, graduating with my bachelor's degree in geophysics from Texas A&M University, I thought I had it made that May afternoon. The oil companies that I interviewed with were calling with follow-ups, and pretty soon I'd be on easy street. That's what I thought. But then the oil markets plummeted. And not only weren't they hiring, they were laying off people with much more experience and degrees than I had. And I had no job, not even a slim prospect of one in my field. That summer I had to get something, my father insisted, and all I managed was a job in a cafeteria mess hall on an Army base. My job was washing dishes and cleaning up every piece of equipment in the giant kitchen, including crawling on my stomach through the exhaust vent works, scraping away grease that had built up for years. That became my specific job when the mess officers there found out that I was that fancy pants college grad with the science degree. We sold that grease and our food slop to local farmers to feed their pigs, and every day when I would trudge outside to the slop dumpsters, I had this wonderful view of the Texas countryside with all of the rocks and fossils that I loved and wanted to be working on. Every day I imagined ripping off my greased clothes and just running away across the hills. I admit at that moment I was not channeling Hemingway and was definitely feeling smashed by the situation and not able to last. The crisis didn't last, but I did. And years more of graduate school and finishing up another fancy pants degree, this time from Cal Berkeley, I thought I had made it once again. Big job at unnamed East Coast big city university. Well, I've got another insightful quote for you. I had a lot of trouble finding the correct person to attribute this to. It's either supervillain of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Leland Owlsby, or that thought-provoking philosopher and former heavyweight champion Mike Tyson. The wind blows hardest at the top of the mountain. Even when you think you've made it and you're done, you will always be thrown into situations where you have to remember to relax and persevere. That career situation was fine for a few years until the day the unnamed dean, none of these, came to our department, and I still remember him walking heel to toe across the floor and saying, "Real estate in this part of unnamed East Coast big city is over $12,000 per square foot. We're going to go with law, public policy, and broadcast journalism. Your department is being dissolved." Well, after a year of relaxing and persevering, I can say that now easily, I got a call from a friend at UW-Madison offering me up to 3 years of visiting professorship there. I took it even though I knew nothing about Wisconsin, except beer, brats, cheese, and of course, Packers. All of my colleagues at unnamed East Coast big city university were telling me horror stories about how cold the Midwest was, and I believed them. I thought, well, if I have to ski to campus 5 months of the year, as they warned me, I'll try to survive it till the next opportunity came along. And it did within that very first year. The perseverance paid off as 20 years ago, I was offered my position here. If you had told that new bachelor's degree graduate, soaked with sweat and doubt in the dining mess hall, that he would find a home, a loving wife and son, a family, and a career at the best university for me in the entire state of Wisconsin, he would not have believed it. Not at all. I'm almost done, but I insist upon leaving you with one more packet of information about the place that you will now always have a seared connection to. Last year, we celebrated the 150th anniversary of our university. But I am so excited to be speaking with you now, as it is this year, that we mark the 150th anniversary of the arrival of a geology professor by the name of Thomas C. Chamberlain to UW-Whitewater. Chamberlain is recognized as one of the most important geologists ever in the United States, in the world. Among his many positions, Chamberlain was one of the heads of the United States Geological Survey, chair of the Department of Geology at the University of Chicago, a professor at Beloit College, head of the Wisconsin Geological Survey, and even president of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. But before all of those, his very first professional higher education position was as professor of geology exactly 150 years before this year at the Whitewater Normal School, which eventually evolved into the place where we are, the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. Even then, Chamberlain saw what a special place Whitewater was. When he was in the twilight of his life, he wrote to a former student that, "I still look upon the beginning of my work at Whitewater as among the halcyon days of my life." You see, even Chamberlain was preaching the central importance of relaxation and perseverance. But my favorite quote from him is one that reads more like a student wrote it. And I hope that as you move along to lead lives with great families and careers and accomplishments of all kinds, that you will feel the same way. Chamberlain said of Whitewater, "It was here that I first found myself. It was not a great discovery to anyone else, but it was all important to me." Congratulations, graduates. I am honored and supremely proud to have been part of your wonderful education here at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Hanger, not only for sharing your inspirational words, but for all of the support that you have given to our students over the years.